Hey, welcome. So today is our Wednesday Bliss Techniques meeting, and it's nice to have you here. So to begin with, it will be helpful today. As usual, we'll be having a guided practice, and it'll be helpful if you can have a comfortable place to be able to lie down and also to be able to sit. So whatever that means for you, as usual, if, not more padding than is necessary, not less padding than is necessary. So if you can do it on a floor with, carpeted floor or with a yoga mat or something, that's excellent. If that's not going to work for you, you can do it in bed, but uh, they, now that's been said, and so hopefully that's clear to you. For sitting, just whatever's going to be comfortable to you. So if you're more comfortable sitting in a chair, then a chair is good. If you're more comfortable sitting on the floor, then sit on the floor. If you want to sit on a couch, you could do that. That wouldn't probably be optimal, but that would, I'm flexible. You can do whatever is going to work for you. But I'm trying to set up what will be somewhat optimal for you. Okay, so uh, also let's get clear on what the intention is. So this is a guided practice with a healing intention. So you will get the maximum benefit if your intention is also aligned to that. If you have a healing intention, then that will help you get the most benefit. Because if your intention and the intention of what's being offered are aligned, clearly that's going to give you a better result than if they're misaligned. So get clear on what your healing intention is. So what is it in your, and maybe you're not clear on that. So you could ask yourself, what is it in your life that you are struggling with that you don't want to be struggling with? At least not in the way that you've been struggling with it. What is it that you would like to be able to experience instead? So they go together. The problem and the perceived problem and the desired uh, intention go together because they are sort of two sides of the same coin. So that's good news. That just means all you have to know is what you don't want, and that tells you what it is that you do want. So get clear and notice if there's any resistance to that. Well, of course there's some resistance to it. If there was no resistance to it, then the intention would already be made manifest. So there's some resistance. Now that resistance manifests as some kind of belief, some kind of feeling, some kind of reaction, some kind of that kind of covers it. Ideas that you might have. So let's say you want to experience better health, physical health, or you want to experience better mental health, or you want to experience, well, we'll just keep it to those things just as examples, but it could be any kind of improvement. It could be relationship health or health of your a healthy connection to abundance. These are all possibilities. But let's look at just the example of physical health. Let's say you say, I really want improved physical health, but, and then you fill in the blank. But what? But why do you not accept it now? And so there's some reasons why you don't accept it. I'm too old. It's not possible. Everybody knows that this is just how it is. Everybody has to suffer. People's bodies are just machines that break down, and all of these kinds of ideas that we might have. My parents experience this kind of thing. It's just runs in the family, whatever. Or I deserve it. That's another, I really deserve the all the unpleasantness for some reason or another. So these are the kinds of things that you want to be able to notice, because they are what are interfering with the realization of your intention. Because when you're clear, in a moment of inspiration, which hopefully you have moments of inspiration on a regular basis, even if they're small, but nonetheless, if you have this moment of inspiration where you perceive, I could experience greater health, I could experience greater wellness, I could experience greater happiness, this is possible. Just this, any kind of inspiration of this sense, that in that moment you actually experience it. You're actually, in that one instant, there it is, you flash on it. But then it's not sustained. So why is it not sustained? Well, because there's already some momentum to something that is running in opposition to it. So we need to get clear on what is it that is interfering or obstructing the clear expression of this desire. I desire physical health. So then I want to just see if I affirm I am healthy and well in all ways, at all levels. My body is strong and capable. My body is supple and happy. If you affirm those things, then you want to notice, what is it that surfaces as the objection? It could be an idea, a thought, a memory, a visual. It could be whatever it is, but just know, and it could be many things. But observe them and then just know that because they have come to, because whatever it is that's come to conscious awareness now can be liberated. So it has to come to conscious awareness for liberation, because if it just remains unconscious, then it just keeps on repeating. So the fact that it becomes conscious is already a sign of the healing. I hope this is clear. Even if you say, but that's the worst thing, it's the worst thought, it's the worst memory, it's the thing that I don't want to think about, it's okay. It's actually a blessing. It's good news in this context. So you want to get clear and affirm what it is that your intention is, and then just notice and give thanks that whatever becomes conscious that is an obstruction to that is becoming conscious. Don't worry that any of that has any power over you. That fear that any of it had power over you is what's kept this thing stuck. But now, in this moment, you can get clear that none of that has power over me. I am here now in this fresh new moment, and I can choose and recognize and acknowledge and affirm what is true, who I am and what I'm here for. And so, and be clear about it. Don't, when the doubts and the apprehensions surface, as they will, be clear that you are not a victim of those things any longer, because you actually are, you're here for a reason. So stand your ground and state your truth. I am well. I am happy. I am successful in the fulfillment of my soul purpose. So now, with enough pep talk, hopefully we're ready to dedicate this practice, this guided practice, to this healing intention. And I'll also say that by doing this collectively, there's a shared benefit. So it's greater than the sum of its parts. And as I've said in the past, this is true both for those who are here present live, as well as those who will participate through the recording. So we all, as a collective, benefit from participating in this together. So now let's find a comfortable position. It could be whatever that is for you. It could be sitting, or it could be lying down. It could be standing. I'll be honest with you, lying down for most people is probably going to be the nicest. So if you have doubts or hesitations, or you think maybe I should tough it out and sit, but I really kind of want to lie down, be a little gentler on yourself and give yourself permission to lie down if that's what's true for you. Lie down. If you're going to lie down on the back, and keep your head, keep everything nicely aligned. So don't turn the head. Let the head just be aligned with the spine resting. And probably for most people, it's going to be best to bend the knees and place the feet on the floor in a stable, comfortable position, whatever that is for you. But again, with all of this, these are suggestions. You want to listen to your own needs, listen to that intuitive guidance, and don't be so rigid that you can't play a little. So it's okay to play. And whatever posture you're in, what we're going to be doing is we're going to just bring our attention to our breathing. So you want to we're going to tune into the breathing here because it sets the tone for everything, and it becomes our guide in the whole process. So it's a very important part of the entire practice, and it's very important to take the time to really tune in and relax deeply into the breath. So because if we're not able to breathe in a good way, then I will suggest, why are we doing anything else? This most fundamental thing is the first activity and the last activity of the lifetime, and the activity that we're engaged in pretty much nonstop between the first and the last moment. This is the thing that we really should have mastery of. We should be masterful. And if we're not, then we don't have it's like trying to build a house without a foundation. We'll really struggle. So see if it's possible to breathe exclusively through the nose. Now, sometimes that's difficult for people. And so if that happens to be the case, then see how much can you breathe through the nose, and only breathe through the mouth, only as much as is absolutely necessary for you, and keep relaxing, and you'll find bit by bit, you'll be able to eventually breathe through the nose exclusively. So we're breathing through the nose as best as we can, exclusively. And notice that, first of all, just notice how you're breathing. So what is the experience of this? Is it pleasurable? Is it relaxed? Is it comfortable? Is it soothing? Is it empowering? Is it spontaneous, natural? These would all be probably good things. Or on the other hand, maybe to some extent it seems chaotic or weak or incoherent or mechanical, rigid. So it's not about judging yourself, but just about observing the experience. And then as you're observing that experience, notice, how could you allow it to be more pleasurable? So one thing, of course, is to let go of what I call the low-hanging fruit. So whatever the unnecessary tension in the body may be, just relax that. Sometimes we have the idea that if I'm supposed to breathe in a good way, that means I have to work hard. But I don't believe that that's true. I think the best breath is the breath that requires the absolute minimum effort, that is completely natural, and of course that is satisfying and pleasurable. So we are finding, where do all of those intersect? Because I could just collapse into my habit unconsciously, and that might seem relatively easy and effortless, although in truth, we will eventually discover it wasn't effortless at all. It was very effortful, but it was masked just out of habit. But we find if I'm just breathing in that way that's habitual, even though it seems relatively on one level to be effortless or comfortable somehow, it's really not very comfortable at all. It provokes a lot of unpleasant feelings, sensations, and thoughts. So I end up going about my life feeling bad, or at least suboptimal. So here we want to really relax and let the breath just be calm. So sometimes we also are so focused on something about the process that we overlook that we're still breathing rather mechanically. And that tends to have us breathing excessively. So just let the breath be calm. So not like you're about to suffocate, not not that degree of calm that you don't care that your body's about to die kind of thing, but just this minimal amount of gentle effort that comes naturally. Just there's a sense of inhale and then relaxation. And just waiting, relaxing until there's a sense of inhale and relaxing. Now you can also notice where does the breath seem to move. So we have a lot of options, I suppose. You could have a sense of the breath moving anywhere. Oftentimes for people, though, habitually, it tends to move up into the chest and then upper chest and then in the throat and in the head. And that tends to produce a kind of anxious state. So just see with your intention, not through force, but just with your intention, just start to direct the breath lower into the abdomen. So obviously the lungs remain where they are. The air, I'm not saying draw the air down into the stomach literally, but when the diaphragm, the thoracic diaphragm is moving on the inhalation, it flattens, descends, which produces this. Okay, I got booted momentarily from Zoom. So the anticipation, what was I going to say? So you notice that that it will, as you inhale and the thoracic diaphragm descends, then there's a sensation that it produces a sensation lower into the abdomen. So if you're relaxing the chest, not tensing the chest, but relaxing the chest and relaxing the abdomen, relaxing the throat, relaxing the face. And as you inhale, just intend to the sensation lower in the abdomen. And as you exhale, just relax. So don't force the exhalation, just relax. So you can notice that as you let the breath be calm and relaxed, and you're intending the breath to descend lower into the abdomen, Perhaps you're not breathing as big of a breath as you started out. It depends on how big you were breathing to begin. But for most people, this will gently reduce the volume and the pace of the breath. So you might find that as you relax on the exhalation, it's very relaxed. It doesn't have the sense of a whole bunch of air has to be expelled. It's just almost as if you're not exhaling at all. But eventually there'll be a sense of, I would like to inhale, and you just calmly, gently inhale, intending the breath to descend into the lower abdomen. And then when you feel that is as much as you can draw into the lower abdomen without tensing something, then that's enough. And then you just relax. So in this relatively simple, or perhaps deceptively simple exercise, so many very powerful, deep healing things are occurring. So do not underestimate the power of this simple practice. This one practice, if you believe in it fully and commit to it fully, just this one thing can give you everything. This is true. This really is true. Most of us don't have faith enough for that, so we have to do many things. But I'm telling you the truth. If you just had enough faith and committed to this, just this one thing, it's so powerful. This could give you everything. It could bring you healing at every level. So one more thing that we'll explore with this before we move on to the next thing that we'll take a look at today. As you're inhaling now, I want you to also be aware that the lower abdomen is gently expanding. So don't force it. I'm not ever suggesting that you should force it. It's just open to it. Start to perceive that this is occurring. You'll notice that it is occurring, or at least it will soon begin to occur. And it doesn't have to be huge. It shouldn't be huge. It's small. It's subtle. You want to tune into it, but notice it's expanding. And then as you exhale, it's just relaxing back into its non-expanded natural state. Now, each time you inhale, you're noticing that the lower abdomen is gently expanding. And I would like you to notice that it's expanding in all dimensions. So, yes, it's expanding forward. That's the most obvious way. But notice that the lower abdomen is three-dimensional, at least three-dimensional. Four-dimensional, maybe more than four-dimensional, but anyway, it's at least three-dimensional. So notice as you inhale, what about the right side? And what about the left side? So just notice several breaths, same calm, gentle, healing breath, nourishing breath. And notice gently expanding front and sides, just a little bit, not a lot. And the sides will probably expand less than to the front for most people. And that's okay, but just notice that they also are expanding. And when you are able to notice that, then also begin to notice the back. So the lower back, just on the back side of the lower abdomen, also, as you're inhaling, notice that it too is gently expanding, and it will probably expand less than the sides and definitely less than the front, but it will expand. So if you're happen to be lying down, for example, then you might notice that actually gently there's a sense of the lower back is moving toward the floor or even pressing gently into the floor. Now, don't try to exaggerate it. Don't try and make that happen. Just tune into it. Let it start very subtle, because then you'll know it's true and natural and it's not forced. Okay, so we've explored front, sides, and back, but of course, there's also down. From above, the abdomen is being pressed down. So it's not necessarily expanding upward, but it's being pressed down, but then it's expanding down as well. So you can notice that the pelvic floor, and particularly I'll bring your attention to the perineum, so the area between the anus and the genitals. This is a part of your lower abdomen, and you can notice that that area should be quite capable of relaxation, and it should be very supple. So that naturally, as you inhale in this gentle, natural way, the pelvic floor, that perineum, gently expands downward. Just gentle, just a small but perceptible sense of release and expansion downward. And then as you exhale, you just are relaxing, letting the exhalation come naturally, and letting all of the elasticity of the lower abdomen, all of the front, the sides, the back, and the perineum, and the whole entire pelvic floor, the natural elasticity, just to gently, slowly allow for the natural exhalation. So you can really start to get a sense of this whole lower abdomen on all sides, at the base, and deep into the interior of the aliveness and the pulsation that's occurring. And you might even start to have a sense that with each inhalation, that this area is being nourished by fresh, positive energy. And that as you relax and allow the natural exhalation, that energy is distributed throughout the whole self according to your intention and need. So every breath becomes very profoundly healing at all levels. So hopefully you can start to see and experience the truth of what I said about how powerful this is. So for the remainder of our explorations today, you might want to see if it's possible for you to continue to breathe in this way. And if not, then maybe you could just be curious about why not, and find out what maybe you could learn so that you could continue to experience the healing benefits of this natural breath as much as possible, so that you could be breathing in this way most of the day, perhaps, without it being forced. So it's really important that I'm not ever suggesting you should force anything, but through a cultivation, a gentle cultivation, then it can become your habitual way of breathing. Okay, so for our next thing that we'll be doing, and remember that This is always optional. You don't need to do any of the things, especially not if intuitively you know that that's not appropriate for you today. But for those who would like to, then if you're not already lying down on the back, then please do so. And bend the knees and put the feet on the floor near to the buttocks so that the legs are stable. And we are going to explore some of the same things that we did yesterday, and hopefully we'll also do a few other things that we didn't do yesterday. So we'll start by doing the arch and curl exercise. So start by making sure that you're stable and confident here in your posture, because this is a starting point. This is sort of the foundation for what you're going to be doing. So you want to be in this posture as well as is possible, but it will improve as we do the exercise. So you don't have to aim for perfection, but just be as relaxed and stable and confident here as you can. So if anything needs to be adjusted, maybe your feet aren't in the right position, maybe your head is uncomfortable and you want to elevate it or something, take care of that so you can be here in a good way. And then when you're ready, on your inhalation, and you don't always have to do the exercise coordinating with the breath, but we're going to do it coordinated with the breath today. As you inhale with the next natural inhalation, so we're not doing big breathing here, it's just natural breathing, just as we've been doing together. Continuing with that, when you next are inhaling, you're going to arch the back so that the back somewhat lifts away from the floor in a arch or a bow. So your pelvis is rolling and your back is arching, only within the range of comfort and confidence for you. So that could be a very small movement. It needn't be big and dramatic. And when you next exhale naturally, relax and release to neutral. And just repeat that several times. And be aware of whatever you discover, whatever sensations call out to you, notice them and see how you can make this more pleasant and pleasurable for yourself. So don't make it harder than it needs to be. Don't make it more effortful than it needs to be. See if you can start to experience it as a flow, like you're being almost as if nature is doing it for you, like almost as if it's just your intention that causes the movement, that it's not your effort. And you'll start to see that it's truly possible that your intention alone can produce the result. Is there muscular energy being used? Yeah, I'm sure. But your subjective sense can become that there's no effort involved. You're just experiencing the flow of it, like you're being carried by this energy. So that's the sense that you want to get, and it becomes very pleasurable. Now, for those who would like to do the curl, then you can do the curl by starting in the neutral position, and then on the exhalation, you're going to curl so that your chest comes closer to your pubic bone and your pubic bone comes closer to your chest, so that the lower back gently presses into the floor but we're not going to go so far as to that the head comes up or anything like that. So just keeping the head resting on the floor, just a somewhat subtle movement. And so you can do that several times just with the natural breath. And the same thing here, you want to really start to let the intention do the movement rather than making a lot of effort. And you can really know how successful you are with that by how your breath is. So if your breathing becomes strained, that is pretty good indication that you're efforting. And maybe there's a time and a place for that. I'm not suggesting your whole life has to be completely effortless, but for our purposes here, it's part of the exploration. So just see what's possible. Okay, so now before we're going to do the same thing with the hands that we did yesterday, but before we do that, we're going to do a one other movement that we're going to put in, which is that you're going to do. So there are a lot of ways that you could understand this. I'm going to describe it in one way, and then maybe I'll give you some other tips about it. But I want you to start by, you're going to keep your body in contact with the floor. So you're not going to, lift up into a bridge or anything like that. So back remains in contact with the floor, head remains in contact with the floor, feet remain in contact with the floor. But you're going to have an intention. You're going to move your right waist further to the right. So see if you can figure out how to do that. You're going to move the right waist further to the right. Everything. So things can roll, things can slide, but everything should remain in contact. And so you're gonna press the right waist further to the right. Now it will be really helpful if you're aware of where the waist is. If you're thinking the hip, that's going to be different. So waist is higher than the hip. The waist is between the hip and the lower ribs. So it's that fleshy area on the side. That's what you're intending to move further to the right. And then you can relax and just come to a neutral position inwardly that you might not return perfectly neutral outwardly, but inwardly release the whatever it is that moves you in that way. And then do the same to the left. And you can coordinate this with your breathing however you like, or you could not coordinate it with your breathing if you prefer, but do attempt as best you can to allow the breathing to remain natural and as free from strain as is possible. Hopefully no holding of the breath. Holding the breath is okay under certain circumstances. It's not that holding the breath is always prohibited, but if you have to rely on holding the breath in order to do something, you want to know if that's a necessary limitation or an unnecessary limitation, and if it offers you benefits or not. So here we're not holding the breath. So you just explore that side to side. and see what's involved in this. So if the right waist is moving to the right, where do you notice, how is the energy shifting and moving in the whole body? Where do you perceive that, and what is the quality of that? So maybe you notice something on the right side and you notice something on the left side. And maybe you notice something in the pelvis, and maybe you notice something in the head, and maybe you notice something in the whole spine. Maybe you notice something in the knees even. So with these two things that we've just done, the arch and curl, and then this side to side thing, kind of covers in a very basic sense the three basic reflexes that Hannah identified. So in a sense, these two movements give you the basic template of human movement. So it's pretty powerful exercises that you could benefit tremendously from by exploring in quite a lot of detail. Okay, but now we'll do with the hand placement as we did yesterday. I hope that you found that helpful. Whether you did or not, I hope you find it helpful today. So we're going to take the hands, and this is only if it's comfortable and appropriate for you. Obviously, you needn't do it if it's strenuous or uncomfortable. But we're going to take the thumbs and place them in the ears, but not in the ear canals. So above, in front of, below, or behind the ear canal, but in the ear, the flappy things, inside the flappy things, but not in the ear canal. Thumbs go in there, wherever you like, whatever feels good or appropriate to you. And then the other fingers will go behind the skull at the base of the skull, so that maybe your index fingers are able to locate the fleshy part just below the skull. And you're just going to let your head rest on your fingers with the thumbs in the ears. And you want to find a way to be comfortable here, if possible. I forgot to mention again today in advance, but I'll mention it now. If you find that you're not sure how to release the elbows all the way down so that they can just rest on the floor, then maybe you would find that putting some support under the elbows would be helpful so that you could really let go. But structurally, your body is designed to be able to do that. So maybe that's helpful information for you to have, to know that it's possible for you structurally. Your bones can do it. Maybe you just have forgotten how to. So, okay. So with our hands placed here, as I pointed out yesterday, this gives a lot of feedback about what's happening in the head, neck, jaw area. And most of us hold a lot of tension there. And so now you can do, again, the arch and curl. However you want to do it, you can just do the arch first, do that several times, then do the curl. You could do the arch followed by the curl, followed by the arch, whatever floats your boat. But do that now with the hands placed in this way, and be very sensitive with your fingers so you can feel what's happening there in the head and neck and jaw and ear, and relax let that whole area soften. So you might find that as you do the arch and curl, that you have a habit of holding tension or even increasing the tension in that in this area around the fingers, and consciously release, lengthen. So you can also, as you're breathing, you can also imagine or direct your intention that the inhalation opens the joints all through the spine and shoulders so that each of the vertebrae has a little bit more space so that the energy can flow. The big joint between the skull and the neck can open, release, so that there can be more space for the energy to flow. And you can literally then hopefully begin to perceive that this whole area is starting to soften under your fingers. You can actually feel it releasing, lengthening, softening, opening. And to complete the inhalation, you can imagine that that's opening, and as you exhale, or as an exhalation is occurring, you can also imagine that it continues to open. It's like the inhalation brings the energy in to each of the joints, which gently expands, and the exhalation just, it's like continuing, the energy's still there and it's continuing to keep that space in the joints. So you can really start to feel that your whole spine is lengthening, the neck is lengthening, the back of the neck, and you can start to feel the continuity between the neck and the skull. So your skull will kind of, the orientation of the skull on top of the neck will probably change slightly, so that there'll be more length in the back of the neck. And then you can also do this side to side exercise with the hands placed here. Remember, you can rest anytime you need, and if it's uncomfortable, you needn't do it. But for those who are able to do it, I believe that you will find this is very, very wonderful in freeing the head, neck, and shoulders in coordination with the movements, the basic template of human movement. So it will help you to remember how to keep that release while you're engaged in other activities to some degree. And when you feel satisfied with that, then you can come to whatever is a comfortable posture for you. It could be sitting, could be lying, continuing to lie down. And we're going to conclude the guided practice. So you want to be in some posture that you can be in comfortably for 5+ minutes. So if it's already uncomfortable, consider making some change. So let's again return to awareness of the breath. And if it's possible for you, then you can just continue, you can just have your attention in the lower abdomen and just continue to breathe in the way that we explored at the beginning. So you're inhaling with intention, directing the breath lower into the abdomen and perceiving the abdomen expanding in all all the directions that we've talked about. Just gently, nothing extreme, should be comfortable. And the exhalation is just relaxation. So nothing forced. So you can start to feel this gentle pulsation in the lower abdomen. And this you can enhance by also sensing that with every inhalation, this area is being nourished with fresh healing energy. And that as you relax and allow just a non-forced, natural exhalation, that this healing energy is distributed by nature through the whole self for the fulfillment of your intention, your healing intention, and for your greatest good. So the power of your we'll call it visualization. You needn't be particularly visual, but I'm just going to use the term visualization. So this visualization, even if you don't visualize in a visual way, but just to have that intention that you are allowing for this to occur, will begin to very rapidly make real changes that you will start to feel, so that you can start to feel your whole self being healed at a very deep level. But you have to be open to it. You have to really be willing to receive that. So sometimes we intend something, but then we don't receive the fulfillment because we have various fears about it. We have various judgments about it. We think that it's supposed to be a particular way, and when it doesn't show up in exactly that way, we become fearful or resistant. We have negative judgments that it's not happening in the right way and so forth. So we can reject the fulfillment of our own intention. So it's very important here to know that your intention is extremely powerful, and you set your intention in the context of a guided practice that itself has a healing intention. So you're very well supported, and only good can come from this. Then you have to be willing to receive it. So now just receive. Just receive. With every inhalation, I'll receive the healing energy. With every exhalation, receive the support of nature directing that healing energy for optimal results. And really start to open within yourself and feel and receive that for the fulfillment of that. So truly, everything is possible. So be willing to receive as much of the healing as you're willing. Don't set artificial limitations on it if at all possible. And know that, as I said, your intention is very powerful. So as long as you continue to allow it, then this intention will continue to manifest. So as you're going through your activities for the day and the week, just be aware of the context in which it's all occurring. So the context should be the context of your intention, your healing intention. So whatever is occurring is part of the fulfillment of that. So when you start to receive it in that way, then you are allowing for that fulfillment. If you fall into the habitual judgments and reactions and you indulge that and believe something bad has happened, for example, then you create the obstruction to the receiving of the fulfillment. And I just want to hopefully make that clear that many times, in fact, maybe even most of the time, the fulfillment of our intention manifests in a way that we have prejudgment of. If you think about it for a second, you'll realize that that actually has to be true, because that's exactly how we've been obstructing the fulfillment of our intention all along, is that we have the intention, instantly it's fulfilled, but the way in which it appears, we have some negative judgment of that this is bad, unacceptable, painful, frustrating, whatever the case may be. So we reject it out of hand because we assume that our judgment is correct. We assume that we are able to correctly identify and name all of our experience. But as Hannah has pointed out very clearly to us, um, this is absolutely not so. That's what sensory motor amnesia is. It's one very specific and very powerful manifestation of how it is that we don't recognize what is for what it is. We misunderstand it, and we then resist and get in our own way. So we have an intention, to put it in simple, somewhat simple somatic terms through Hannah's lens. I have an intention to move in this world. I want to move forward. For example, I want to achieve something. I want to accomplish something. I have a goal. I set my sight on it. In order to do that physically, I have to move forward. But if I have what he calls red light reflex activated in sensory motor amnesia, I'm working against my intention. And so when I attempt to move forward, I'm going to experience discomfort, pain, frustration, so forth. Now, if I leap to the conclusion that, well, this is just pain, this is just another example of how I can't, this is just another more proof of how life is no good or no fair or out to get me or whatever the case may be, whatever my beliefs are, then once again, I've blinded myself. But instead, when I trust and know I have a healing intention, I've done this healing practice to empower that intention, then I have to know definitely what is manifest, what follows as a result of that is the manifestation of my healing intention. So whatever my judgments, if I have negative judgments about it, I'm in error. So my job now is to keep receiving the healing, even though my mind might have judgments. My mind's going to say, this is a disaster. Everything's going badly. Everything's working out in the wrong way. This is the opposite of what I want. But you have to have faith and know how the process works. That's why it's very helpful to observe nature, because when you can see how nature is working, you can know and have confidence that you're working in accordance with that. And so you're getting the outcome and you can see how it's actually happening. If you don't have that much knowledge of how nature is working or the intimate details, it's very helpful just to have faith. So I hope that that makes sense to you. And for those who are here live, we'll stay on for the Q&A for everybody. As you're transitioning from this guided practice, do so mindfully and at your own pace. There's no rush. Thank you. And I'm going to end this recording now.